Hi, Ovation. I'm Joel Johnston. I am so excited to have seen your show. It was so much fun. I want to just start with general impressions, and then we'll dig into some details. And I know Dan is going to jump in and give some things too. So overall, just it's such a good group. So many good voices. You got good soloists. Mr. Schott understands show choir, so the song selections are really interesting. They're good, and they're really good show choir arrangements. As a student, you may not know there are arrangements, and then there are show choir arrangements, and the show choir arrangements have good things for band and tempo changes and key changes and medleys and all that, and they're really, really nice. As usual, you sing well. Blair just always sings well, and the choral tone is really, really wonderful. I'll find some spots that maybe you can keep working on, but the basic stuff is there. And then it's just a clean show. It's well designed. It's all the elements are there, and you've done all the hard work of putting together a really solid show in such a weird year. So I want to congratulate you for that. There are some schools that just aren't putting out that haven't taken the effort to put out a great product, and you guys have. My challenge to you is to push outside the envelope now and take styles further, define your moods a little bit more, create even more energy, find a few more dynamics in there. It's just, if you write, it's like when you write a term paper and you think it's perfect, and then somebody else looks at it and thinks of 5 things they can do in the first paragraph. This is kind of what we're doing today because the show is really good, and so maybe there's some ideas here that we can give you. Your boss is Mr. Schott. If he doesn't like the idea, you don't do it. But if there's some things that we can give you that help you define the show a little bit more and push it a little bit more, go for it. From the beginning, this is song by song, really nice entrance. I like the look. I like the colors of the dresses, the guys in the jeans with the jackets. It's just a really, really nice look over there. Really interesting journey to the past. It took me a second to realize what song it was because the tempo is so different, but it's very cool. Nice breezy style, really good soloist there. And a lyrical style of choreography. My challenge to you, especially in the men, in the choreography, within that lyrical choreography, there's still strength and there's still hit points. And so you've got to make sure, I don't know your choreography off the top. If we were live, we could stop and fix it. But, there's moments where if you're doing a move, you have to know exactly where the hit point is within that move. It can't just be fuzzy. And I think it's more, I know Blair, and I know there's dance studios there. I know there are people that grow up in dance studios. Usually you don't see as many guys that go through that. And so that lyrical kind of arms and choreography, you still have to know where the strength is and where the hit points are. Otherwise, it just comes off as mushy. Second song, great tempo change in there. I love the balance between the vocals and the band throughout. I thought it was a really great job of pulling the band back and then bringing the band up when we needed it. And so there was never a moment where I felt like the band was covering the vocals, which is great. The dance break in the second song was the first time I thought this really needs to be cleaned, and especially the transition must be into it, where it just seemed a little wonky. I don't know if everybody was getting there or there was just some traffic pattern kinds of issues. Take a look at that. And I think in the second song overall, I would continue to find some more dynamic shape. Maybe find another moment or two that can pull back. You probably know your dynamics, but sometimes show choirs, when they get performing, they do what I call mezzo nothing, which is kind of, oh yeah, we were taught to sing big, but we didn't quite get there. We were taught to sing soft, we didn't quite get there. Find out those moments and continue to define those in there. I would say more energy leading right up into that final hit. There's something about, where was it? We're on knees. Oh, a knee thing, and maybe the final thing needs a little flip up with the hands or something like that. It seemed like that needed a little bit more push towards the final hit in the second number. Hope that makes sense. So going into the third number, you've got, you change into a swing thing, and it was pretty clear, but everybody was kind of snapping about the same way. I would have liked to see a lot more variety in terms of how you show that new swing. You can do the snaps, but maybe the snaps have to be a little different, and not everybody was kind of stuck here. I'd like to see more variety in how you get to your new spots in the new style, but I appreciate the fact that you were paying attention to that it's a new style. Men, you have what I call a lapel sway, where you're like this. You got to make sure that you're matching because there was some phasing going on that. So make sure that that's really locked in because you're up above the sopranos and altos there, and it's really, really visible. The dance break in this song, when we're doing Sunny Side of the Street, I think the band can go even bigger here. That was the one note I had in terms of dynamics. And then when you are dancing here, especially when you're doing movements like this, we've got to make sure that these arms are the same. The feet were pretty good. Got to make sure arms are the same. Anytime you're doing the soft shoe kinds of movements in there, we worry about the feet so much, and then we don't lock the hands in quite as well. Also, there's some opposite jazz hand kinds of things in here. Those can be cleaner and because they're so visual. I would say in this Sunny Side of the Street and Bright Side, it'd be interesting if you could define a different vocal style, even though it's the same medley between the two songs. So on the sunny side of the street and always look on the bright. Maybe you go more jazzy swing in the first one, but then Bright Side of Life has a real show-busy kind of a feel. It just seems like you could do more vocally there to define those songs. Ballad is really nice. I'd like to see anybody that's sitting, especially if the females are sitting, you just got to feel like you're still taller. Okay? It might be that your hand is a little too far away from your body. You've got to get your hand right next to your body, because otherwise you lean into it and you get a little tilted that way. I think we can personalize this song a little bit more. What's the attitude here? I always say that when you're saying something to somebody that's important, your head moves. You're talking to somebody. I think especially when we've got these things in our faces now, we can't see your face as much. So I'd like to see you personalize and talk to us more. Move your head. Be more real with us, but in a way that somebody 40 rows back could see it. The final picture has kind of a hole in the middle of it, because I think you went out and you're at diagonals angled out, and I wasn't a big fan of the final picture having a hole there. I'm wondering if there's a number of picture changes. If the final picture change could fill the whole stage, it would make the group kind of feel bigger. But there just seemed like that, to my opinion, I wasn't a big fan of that picture there. And then the very end of this ballad, even your audience didn't know whether they were supposed to applaud, and I'll bet you they'd seen the show before. You do it's my turn to be brave. I like endings that just sort of end without a big button at the end, but that one was awkward, and I'm wondering if it's my turn to be brave. Maybe the last word could be just slightly longer, just so it feels like there's a little bit of a button there without being too obvious for it. But it just seemed kind of sudden and awkward. If you don't want them to applaud, if that's by design, then you got to get into the next song quicker. You never want to have that moment where we're wondering what's going on. Closer. This is the first time that I wrote, "What's the text here?" ? I lost words towards the beginning, and it's a compliment to you because it took till the end of the show before I noticed that. But with masks, it's tricky. So I would say work text on that one. And then I like kind of the concept that when we get towards the end, there's some moment in the last number where we just bump the tempo by about 20%. And I think there might be chances in this closer to bump it. I wrote sometime after Home We'll Go, maybe increase the tempo for the final chunk of that song just to build the energy there. Overall, just really, really solid, really solid. I don't want you to think like, you've done the hard work, you got the show in, but you're not done yet. And I know that each of you as an individual performer probably agrees. You know that you can do further and you can do more. So little cleaning things, but then define those attitudes. Push the envelope a little bit further. See how much more you can get out of every song so that you take us on a journey as well.
All right. Thanks, Joel. Congratulations, Blair. That was great. And it is so great to have Mr. Schott back in the state of Nebraska.
Yes, it is.
One of my favorite people, and I hope you Blair kids appreciate him because he will work so hard for you. Your show is great. I have just a few things that I would add. Everything that Joel said was perfect and exactly right. I would have said the same thing. A couple things that I would like to add. One of the very first impressions I got was that you hit an initial pose, boom, and then you turn around, boom. And then when we started dancing, I felt like that beginning set us here, and then the energy, it was kind of like we turned the energy down and then we came back. And can you find a way to keep that energy from hit, and it's still going up, even though you're not moving? Don't let that energy ever wane. And I felt like that in the opening number a few times, where it was so good when we were on, but there's a moment where it was like in between. And some of that can come from rehearsals, where you are not staying at that same level all the way through. And just really hit at the beginning and say, I'm not going to stop until the applause happens, and then I can let the energy down for just a minute. In the second song, I'm going to demonstrate a couple of dance things that I saw. There's a move where you're changing places, and what I wrote was a drop step, which for me means something like this. You're moving like this, moving from one place to the other. And what I saw was that we had different versions, because you can either put the accent on the beginning, 1, 2, 3, or what I saw in some people was 1 and 2 and 3. And you just have to decide what is that move and what are we supposed to be doing right there. And then there was a move that is like, and 1 and 2, which I call a karaoke. And especially in the guys, that was a complete mess. We just were approximating what everybody else was doing, and it has to be exact. So work that move. The other thing is, in the tap world, we call it a back essence, and it's step and out like that. That is another step that's a complete mess, especially in the guys. Joel pointed out that we have some dancers in the females that look stunning. You absolutely have all the technique, and guys might not have that same technique, but you can work those few steps out and make sure you're at the same level. I wrote the last song, I felt like we had our best choral work while we were singing was in the last song. And so bring some of that to the other songs, carry that sound in all of the songs. But overall, great show, really fun, clean, exciting. You're doing a lot of really good things there, lots of really good individual performers in there that work in a great group as well. So congrats to my old Blair Bears.